Hi, I'm Tiffany from daisyfarmcrafts.com, and today's tutorial is going to be about making these adorable beginner-friendly mittens. And trust me, they are beginner-friendly. I'm just having you make a rectangle piece of fabric. We will sew up the end here, leave a little hole, sew up this end, gather it at the top, and I'll teach you a super easy way to go in the round, and we'll just gather that around. So should be really, very, very easy construction, and you will have a cute pair of mittens to either give away or have for yourself. So thank you to my friends at Yarnspirations.com for inviting me to design this very beginner-friendly pattern for you. Let's get started. Okay, first let's talk about the materials that you're going to need and a little bit of the tools. So I am using Patton's Classic Wool Roving. I totally love using this roving for the mitten. I think it gives it that nice modern kind of look for the mitten. Plus it's super warm and pretty soft. It is a 5 bulky weighted yarn, and the recommended hook size is a J, and I am using that today, so J. The color is Aran. The hat I demonstrated was pale blush, but anyway, there's lots of beautiful colors in this line. And you will need a tapestry needle, which is just like a huge eye and the blunt tip, and then of course just a pair of scissors. Okay, so the base chain to get started is you're going to want to chain 38. So I just make your simple slip knot and get 38 chains on your hook, and I will be back to show you the first row. I have my 38 chains right here on the hook, and the first row instructions say to chain in the third chain from the hook. So we never count this first one that's on the hook. We start with the next one. 1, 2, and in the third chain from the hook, we're going to just work a half double crochet, which is yarning over, inserting your hook, yarning over, and pulling up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. So that's just your basic half double crochet, and you want to work 1 into each chain space across the row. So why don't you go ahead and push pause and get that finished, and I'll meet you back. I've chained in every stitch, and that has given me 36 half double crochets. And if you're unsure about that, I always suggest, when in doubt, count. Making sure you have the same amount of stitches in every row will make sure that you have straight sides. So I've chained 2, and I'm turning just like a page in the book. And my next row is going to be what I called a modified half double crochet. I've also heard it be called a front 2 loop half double crochet. And that's because I'm not going to be inserting my hook under the top 2 V's or spaces, 2 loops right there. I am going to be inserting it up on the hooks that are on the side, the 2 that face you. So that's probably why it has the name the front 2 loop half double crochet. And whoops, okay, I need to yarn over first like a regular half double crochet stitch and pull up a loop. Okay, and the reason I designed it this way is so that you could get that beautiful little braid or rope that forms along the back of the work, and it kind of just gives more texture to the design of the mitten. So I kind of like those chunky cable looking mittens, but gosh, cables are tricky and they take up so much yarn. So this was kind of my little inspiration on that, and I just tried to think of a way that would still be really beginner friendly, but yet give great design. So as you can see, I probably am going too fast if you haven't ever seen a half double, you're fine. Okay, so I'm just going up these two like that. Okay, why don't you push pause, finish the row, and I will show you that next row of how to get the clusters. I'm about to finish that row of modified half double crochets. I'm to the last 2 stitches, and I thought I'd make sure you can see the last stitch. And double check that you're inserting your hook up underneath those 2 V's, the 2 loops that face you, yarning over, pulling through all 3, and going ahead and catching that last one right there at the end. Now you don't ever go into the chain 2s that are the turning chains. They simply act as turning chains and a way to get you up to the next row. You never work into them when you come back. You just work into the last stitch. And as well, you always work into the very first stitch right here. Okay, this is what I call the cluster row. I'm going to teach you how to do a half double crochet cluster. And this is just a kind of a mini cluster. I yarn over, I go ahead and insert my hook in the same manner as we have been. We'll do that throughout the whole pattern. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There's your 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over and go right back up into the same space and pull up another loop. This time I have 5 on my hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will yarn over and pull through all of the loops, and the cluster's made. Now in order to get that to pop out on the other side, in the very next stitch, I work in the same manner, except this time I'm working a single crochet. So I'm not yarning over. I'm just simply inserting my hook into the stitch and pulling it through 2 loops. So it's a cluster and a single crochet. I'll show that to you again. Yarn over, work up through the front 2 loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, go ahead, insert your hook one more time, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 5 loops on your hook, and now yarn over and pull through all. And then don't forget to get that to poke out. We're just going to do a single crochet in the next stitch. Same manner. Okay, I want you to work across the whole row, alternating a cluster in one stitch, a single crochet in the next stitch until you get to the very end. And that will be your that's how you make those little bumps that I just thought were so cute. Okay, I go ahead and press pause and get those clusters done. How'd you do? I want to get on here and tell you that the last stitch will be a single crochet into that last stitch. So if you've done your alternating right and you've got the right amount of stitches, this is your last stitch. So I'm just going to single crochet. I still will chain 2 and turn. Nothing changed about that. And here's your little row of clusters. And I love the way actually that the roving, this is, I would say, key to this roving yarn. It just made this, your stitches kind of get a little bit of definition. Plus I love the flat look of it, and I love that it's a brushed look. Honestly, the only other yarn I would substitute it for would probably be the Bernat roving. It has just a little bit of acrylic, but you would have to adjust, which I think would be fine, adjust the stitch counts because it'd be just a little bit bulkier of a yarn. Might make a bigger pair of mittens for you. Okay, here we go on the next row. We're going to go back to those modified half double crochets. However, in the single crochets, it'll just be a regular half double crochet. So what I want to point out though is that you're still going to try and find those front 2 loops. Go ahead and pull through. But obviously the next one is a single crochet. There isn't a front loop, but you're just going to go under just like a regular half double crochet. That's the only thing that can be tricky if you're reading the written pattern, is to just work the half double crochets into the single crochets and find those front 2 loops. So pretty easy. You can see that there's 1, 2, And then 3 and 4, you want to kind of go under these two. I hope you're not having trouble finding it. See that? Okay. You're going to finish this row with all half double crochets, just like that. You might want to go ahead and push pause, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the next 2 rows. All right, all you're going to do when you finish that row is chain 2 and turn again, and now you're going to work your regular modified front 2 loop half double crochets across this row. Now as I'm working, I'm going to give you a few hints, because just to help you as you get going, and if you don't want to continue to have the written pattern by you, you're going to work 2 of these rows. And how you'll know to work a cluster row is that the clusters will be facing away from you. So, so we'll do 2 more of this type of row, and then we'll come back and do 1 more cluster row, and then I think you'll be on your way, and then I'll, we can push pause, and then I'll show you how to make the thumb part. Okay, so this time now I'll push pause, you go ahead and work 2 rows of your modified half double crochet. All right, so to remind you of the pattern, it's a row of clusters followed by 3 rows of half double crochet. That's what it should be looking like. And what I was saying earlier is how you'll know it's time to do a cluster row is that the clusters, when you start making them, they should be facing away from you. The clusters poke out towards the back as you make them. So I'll just start on this cluster row and start with a cluster, and then work the alternating cluster and single crochet across this row. Okay, the other thing is, I know the pattern says 16 or 17 rows. I can't actually remember for sure, I don't have it in front of me, but that's, I just want you to know that number is flexible, because your hand could be bigger than mine, or you're making it for a man, or you could make these smaller. So I worked mine out to be, I believe these were 17, and so I'm going to have you just, there is really no wrong way to do this or to end. So if you need to make it an extra row bigger because you feel, as you measure it, we'll get there, then go ahead and do that. So here we go. I'm going to finish this out. I'll hop back on after I have my, I guess I need to go back and count 16 or 17 rows, I can't remember. And I will show you how to sew up the seams, and we will attach the thumb together. Okay, good luck making the rest of your fabric. Well, how did you do? Here is my completed little rectangle. It is 17 rows, so I went and checked the pattern, and it says 17, but again, that number is adjustable. If you need to do an 18th or you want to do just 16, it's up to you. This is how I finally decided I wanted. Keep in mind this will stretch with wear, but you do have to kind of measure your own hand, and that's how I came up with it. And I wanted it a little bit tight. You don't want it super loose. You want it a little bit tight because it will stretch after you sew. So it's kind of about that idea. So because look, that is, I did that one, and you want it to be just, so that it'll fit on you, and it doesn't feel tight, but if I would have done it looser, I've done on the other prototypes, it just is a little bit too loose. But again, use your hand as a guide. So what I'm going to do now, and obviously I needed an extra, I ran out of the skein. This project takes 2 skeins, and so I joined there. I'll weave those ends in. But before you cut off, I wanted you to make sure and give yourself a fairly long tail. So if you want to press pause, weave in, well, let's see, if you don't have these, hold on, I need to press pause and weave those in, and then go ahead and cut a long tail, and then I'll show you how I'm going to sew them together. All right, so I have my needle threaded through on the one end. This is the last end that we figured off. I'm gonna weave in this tail after we're done. Now I've estimated for me, because I wanted it to come down on here, I'm going to be sewing together these two sides about 14 stitches up. Now that's just an estimation. You are free to do your own, but I wanted to, 14 stitches is what I put in the pattern, and that did seem to be about right for me. And I think a nice, average woman's hand. So I'm just going to start by putting my hook underneath that starting chain and underneath the 2 loops of that final half double crochet that we made, and ignore this tail for right now, and go ahead and go under and just kind of go in a circular motion and sew up 14 sides. So I'm just coming over here, going under those and under those, kind of maybe in a, I don't know what stitch this would call, maybe a whip stitch, I'm not sure. So I'll go ahead and do that to up 14 stitches. So I'm here at the 14th stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and just work another one to kind of double it up and let it hold the place. I'm not going to weave this in quite yet. So take out your hook, leave it just like that. And if you want to test and see if you need to go up a little bit higher, but that's about where I wanted my wrist to be. So again, it's completely up to you how far. But go ahead and leave that hanging out. Grab another fairly long tail from your skein, and we are going to skip over 7 stitches. Again, we're just going to start from this way, so if you want to make sure that's lined up, we're going to go ahead and skip 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And work. Just go ahead and enter from this way. Leave yourself a longish tail hanging out there. We'll weave that in later. And go ahead and do, you can double that one. It's no big deal, just to make it a little bit more secure. And I'm going to have you continue to work up to the top by sewing this together. If you can see what I'm doing here. And then when we get to the top, we will weave the stitches in and out. And I got to go careful. Okay, now this is going to happen with roving, and I'm glad it's happening. You can see sometimes because it's roving, it will pull apart on you, and I can feel that. It's going to come right apart just like that. So what I'm going to do is let it go ahead and come out. I'm going to grab a different, another one, which is I just want to warn you, that is to be expected because of this yarn, but it's really not detrimental. Don't worry, your mittens won't fall apart as long as you just grab another piece and continue working through. We can always weave that in and tie it, and don't worry about it. So leave another long tail, continue working. That is probably a trade-off to working with this yarn, but it's okay. For me, it was fine because I still like the look of this yarn. So just be aware that that's going to happen. Okay, we're almost to the top here. Get this last stitch. And now all I'm going to do is go ahead and weave my needle in and out along the top and gently gather this together and do as good a job as I can, and it's of weaving this together and just gently sewing the top together. So I'll let you go ahead and do that, and let me get that finished off camera as well. Okay, so I have the top all gathered in, and I've just ran a few stitches across and made sure that's tight. I'll weave in that end later. Weave in those ends. I'll weave in those ends a lot later. This one will become important to us. Okay, I want you to notice though that we have 7 stitches open. I wanted you to leave 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In this 7th one, you're going to insert your hook and pull up a loop, just like that. Chain 1, and then go ahead and right in that very same stitch, work a half double crochet, just like that. And I do go over the tail just to secure it a little bit. And that's it. So I just want to make sure you're in that 7th one, not the 8th one that you are up here where we started sewing. Now I'm just going to have you work down the row with 6 more half double crochet in each one of those stitches. Regular half double crochet down to the bottom. And when you're making, it's why important. Whatever number you choose, 7 seemed to be about right with for thumb size. 8 was too big. I got too big of a thumb. But okay, notice how, this is our 1 stitch. We want to make sure we skip over and go ahead and do 7 up this side too. We want to keep it even. So here's 1, and don't worry that there's a little hole there. That's why that tail is hanging out, and we will sew that up when we're finished. 2, 3, hopefully you can see this. 4, this side is the, the base chain that we started, so I'm going under those 2 loops right there. Here's 5, and 6, and 7. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, perfect. Now, go ahead. I know that this will leave a hole, but that's why we have this one to weave in later. In that very first stitch, I want you to just work right into it. We're not joining or anything. You're just going to work a half double crochet right into that first one that we made. And now we'll work in the round, and the only thing you need to do is skip 1 stitch at the bottom. Okay, so we're working down the side. And here we are at the bottom. So we're going to skip that. Technically, what would it have been? The 7th one down the side. Skip that one. Go into the next one and work around. And we're going to do this about 5 or 6 times. Depends on how long your thumb is. For me, I think it was around 6 times. But your tension could be just a bit different than mine. And I know some of you probably could be using different yarn. So do it to size. Make sure you don't forget this one. We're not skipping 1 at the top. We're only skipping 1 at the bottom. Continue on around. Should be very easy to get this right. Here we are to the bottom. I'm going to skip that one, go into the next one. And that will just kind of magically make the fabric that we're creating angle up like a thumb. It's one of the magical things I think of crochet sometimes. When you can figure that out, how to decrease, to angle. Okay, I think I'll just continue working around. It's probably boring just sitting here watching me do this. Just make sure you continue to skip over that bottom stitch. And so press pause. Okay, I've got, so I can tell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 rows done. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there, slip stitch to the very top one, or roughly the one we started with, and then leave a long tail. If you continue to go, you will just kind of take it all the way to a point, and we don't want that. We want it to still look rounded on the edge. So I'm cutting myself a really long tail, and I will grab my needle and go ahead and tuck, weave it in and out, and very delicately with this yarn, because you know that it can pull on us and come undone, I will just sew the little thumb together at the top. And you are done. That's it. You have made a little mitten. Now go make another one. Haha. Gotta make 2. So see? And then usually I'll just show you. I love this yarn actually for the weaving in purposes. It does not show. And it is so good at sticking to itself that I really am not going to worry about it coming undone. But I'll just show you. I'm going down a little bit, hiding the yarn through the stitches. I'll go down, in and out just a few times. So I'll go under, go in this direction. And back and cut that off. Oh, I guess I do want to show you what I'm going to be doing for this point. Okay, you'll see the little hole. Well, I will just thread this, and I'll just do the same thing. Work my needle around, kind of cover up the hole that's here, and same thing up here. I will use these to cover up, kind of go in and out. And that will actually secure it just fine, and it'll look great. So I'll push pause. I will get all of these woven in. Well, here they are. How did your mittens turn out? I think they look really cute. And with more, trying them on, they loosen up and become just the right size. So, and I have just like a medium, average woman's size hand, so I don't think you'll have a problem. These fit my teenage girls, and they're just a great women's size mitten. So I'd like to thank Yarnspirations for inviting me to create beginner, kind of fashionable hat, mitten, and scarf pattern. I hope you've enjoyed making this. Hope you've increased your skills a little bit and are not afraid to try and experiment around with clusters and different ways to use a half double crochet. That to me is what makes crochet so exciting. I hope you'll come visit me on my website or come find out more about me. You can find me on Instagram at Daisy Farm Crafts. I have a Facebook page, Daisy Farm Crafts, and of course my blog is daisyfarmcrafts.com, and that's where I'm sharing all the blankets I'm making in hopes to become a grandma. You can read about our story there. So thank you so much, and good luck.